Hey everybody, welcome to Grimm's Forge Gaming. Today we're going to cover something. I use this process with new PvPers, okay? We basically are establishing ground rules or a basic level of understanding. This is how you progress in PvP from a level standpoint. If you had to assess your current level of understanding or knowledge in PvP, and or you needed to assess other people that you were running into or the people you're running with. And basically what this does is it sets kind of ground rules for someone as they're coming into PvP, and they know that as I start mastering my CCs and getting better at CCing or lining up my burst or using line of sight, all the different criteria to go up in your level of understanding for PvP, you're advancing your skill set. So anyways, here it is. This is one of the first things I do with people. I train people in PvP as they start out in this process, and this just helps them with their level of understanding. Level 1. A level 1 PvPer is usually someone that is fresh or new to PvP. They are coming usually from a PvE background, and so parsing or pushing the best possible DPS over a long period is important to them. In a lot of cases, I'm running into this a lot. They don't have adequate heals on their bar or any heals on their bar because I have a healer when I run dungeons or I have a healer in trials and anyways, that level one player also will lack a proper PvP build. They might not have the proper traits like impenetrable traits. They don't have enough damage mitigation on their bar. All these different things that they haven't experienced, like getting bursted down, and what's it like to have to be self-reliant. I need enough adequate heals. I need enough heals myself to keep going, and I need to line up my own burst. So they're not only not good at lining up their own burst, but they're also not good at CCing regularly. And I like to break it down to new players. There's two basic forms of CC in the game. There's a hard CC, and a hard CC is an ability that stuns the player or they lose control of their player. So, as an example, toppling charge and a Magplar stuns them. That's a hard CC. There is an exception. A soft CC would be any ability that roots or slows a target. Okay, so hard CCs and soft CCs. It's important to know that both those CCs are on their own separate global timer. And so basically every 6 seconds you can turn around and do it again. And that's important to know because sometimes it's not easy to kill the person outright. Okay, we actually need to make it a resource issue. And so if we stay on top of our CCs on them, both hard and soft CCs, our chances of getting them are a lot higher. Also, a byproduct of staying on top of your CCs is the likelihood that your damage over time or your burst is paying dividends against that target because of the opportune moments where you're landing your burst and they're still breaking out of CCs. But ultimately, you'll get them because they'll run out of stamina and then they just have to eat the damage. So, um, another thing that kind of dictates a level 1 PvPer is there's lack of situational awareness. So they do not know how to use their surroundings. They don't know how to line their sight. They also are unaware of the different games that can be played. You know, there's a common saying in PvP, and that is the tail gets bit. Okay, and what that means is if you're the last through the door in the districts, you might be ganked. There's a high chance you're going to be killed. If you are with a large group of people and your group runs off and you're standing there looking through your inventory, there's a high chance you're going to be killed. So the tail gets bit, and they just don't have that level of understanding where to be, where not to be. Another form of situational awareness would be use it from a battleground perspective. If your team is in a two-team fight, okay, so we're fighting both teams right in front of red's base. If we wipe the other team and we're fighting red right in front of their base, of in the near future, that other team that we just wiped is going to respawn and they're probably, if they're smart, going to move back to our location as a team. And in that moment, we're going to be flanked, or we're going to have to fight a fight on two fronts. We're fighting in front of us, and we're fighting behind us. We're gonna be pinched. And so that situational understanding, there needs to be an alarm in your head that says we're out of position right now. We need to reposition ourselves so we don't get pinched here. So a level one player, if you were to sum that up, is somebody that is learning. They have a lot of learning to do, but basically just take a person, drop them into a PvP setting, and that's it. They lack PvP build, they lack the burst understanding for their class, they lack the CC understanding, they lack situational awareness, and they're at the very beginning of their journey. Um, and you can recognize these level ones. Go through and just watch 1vx's or watch a bunch of videos. This is not a knock on 1vxers, by the way. We're going to talk about this a little bit more, but go and watch 1vx videos, and go and watch videos where there's multiple people fighting, and I guarantee you're going to see at least one person out there just light attacking in a general direction, and that's their level of effort in it. They're standing there unbuffed with no terrain around them, out in the open, throwing light and heavy attacks in your general direction, and that's the extent of their PvP understanding. And so go watch 1vx videos, you're bound to see those people. So that's a level 1. Okay, we're setting the ground rules here for a level 1. A level 2. Level 2 is somebody that's been PvPing a little bit more. They've made the transition to a PvP build. They've seen someone on YouTube that they like. They've gotten advice. They're now actually running a legitimate PvP build, and they have impenetrable, or if they're a Nightblade and they're sneaky, they're running divines. And a level 2, it's important to know, is starting to understand their burst. They're not consistent with it, but they at least understand, okay, I do this, this, and this, and if I do those back to back, and I incorporate animation canceling with a light or heavy attack in between these abilities, I'm maximizing my burst potential. Um, they can't do it all the time, but they're building a general understanding of it. Level 2s also are starting to understand their CCs. So they maybe now have a CC on their bar, maybe one, or maybe they have both. They have a hard and a soft CC, but they're not consistent with casting them every 6 seconds, and they're definitely not consistent with lining up their bursts with them. But having them on your bar and actually using them from time to time is definitely a step up from a level 1. Okay. Level 2, or that's level 2. Level 3. A level 3 is someone that enjoys PvPing, and they have a strong build, and they have a strong grasp of their class. So the combination of the two makes them pretty tough. They've been playing the class long enough that they feel very strong on it, and they also have a strong build. Maybe they're running whatever's meta, or they're just running something that synergizes with their play style. Okay, a level 3 is very good at lining up their burst. They understand how to line up their burst. They usually will only have one burst. They don't have multiple options. They have one burst option, and like that's a gap close to holding block to heavy attack to dizzy swing to light attack to execute. Whatever that is. They're capitalizing on onslaught or dawnbreaker and applying pressure. They're also good at using their CCs. They understand how vital my CCs are to lining up my burst or getting myself out of trouble. This is kind of the turning point for PvPers. Fighting a cold here, sorry. Here's a turning point. For a level 3, here's how I recognize a level 3. A level 3 is someone that can bring it back. They're somebody that can turn the corner in a duel, in a fight. Okay, you bring them down super low in resources, super low in health, and they can turn it around. And they don't just turn it around, like they don't just save themselves. They save themselves and then put pressure back into you. Okay, they come right back at you, and now they don't do it um, recklessly. Like they don't just attack you even though they don't have heals coming in or hots coming in. They get their buffs back going. They right the ship. They correct course and they turn the corner in the fight. And now they're applying pressure back into you. Being able to turn the corner is a clear-cut level 3 player for sure, and that's what I look for. Um, is can they turn the corner? Also, level threes start to have a very, very good understanding of line of sight and situational awareness. They start to realize that, in outnumbered situations, I can use my terrain, use my line of sight, and while I still might be taking some damage in, it's going to cut the damage income greatly. And because I'm good at my class and I'm good with this build, I'm strong with my class, strong with this build, um, my actions are going to overcome the less damage that's coming in, and it gives me kind of a reprieve on my resources coming in. And also, what I'm doing is I'm stretching out the enemy. I'm trying to establish the tail, or figure out who the healer is, or figure out who the weak links are. Who's my level 1 and level 2 players that I need to get rid of, to kind of thin the herd. And so that starts happening around level 3. Okay, and then we have our level 4s. And our level 4s are the top level PvPer. They're regularly going to be our 1vxers. And here's the natural maturation process for this. You spend enough time at level 3, you're strong with your class, you're strong with your build. 1v1 situations are coming easier to you. Nerves are not an issue anymore when you're dueling or when you're fighting multiple people. You're not bashing your keys or miskeying often. I'm not saying miskeys don't happen. Even level 4s miskey, or level 4s, but the nerves start to deaden a little bit to the circumstances and the situations, and you actually start to uh, rise to the occasion. You'll win. There's kind of a turning point where you start to win more than you'll lose in those situations, and that's when you kind of ascend to this level 4. Okay, level 4s are people that have a very strong PvP build. They've probably established the meta. Okay, usually level 4s are also, very rarely do you have a level 4 that is an unknown player. Okay, usually level 4s are somebody that's streaming. Um, there's they are a known player. Okay, because if not, you could have a level 4 player. I'm not saying there's not level 4 players out there running around that no one's heard of, but every time you run into them, they're just skill sets on the next level. But they're usually people that will stream and kind of draw attention to that. So that's important to know. Level 4s, anyways, they establish the meta for PvP builds. They're also an ambassador to their class. They're somebody that could tell you every in and out of the class, what's working, what's not. Okay. Um, they are great at lining up their burst, and they have multiple ways to line up their burst. Okay. So it's not just one rotation, it could be multiple rotations depending on the situation or scenario. And they also could tell you that this burst combination is a quicker burst. It will take a light armor person out of the equation, but I need to use this burst against a tankier person, and I need to chew on them a little bit more before we can get them out of there. Um, Level 4s are able to come back, and they're able to come back against multiple people. Okay, they understand how to use their line of sight and their terrain like no one else. They know every trick on how to cut corners and use line of sight and angles and spread the enemy out and bite the tail. Okay, that's a level 4. They're usually your 1vxers. Okay, now that we've established this, we have our level 1s that have minimal understanding. They probably don't have the proper gear set. They probably don't have the right abilities on their bar, both offensively and defensively. Then you have level 2s that are starting to make the transition, and they're starting to understand how to line their burst up in PvP, and they're starting to use their CCs. Then we have the level 2s, their situational awareness is they've been killed a handful of times at this point from situational awareness, and so it's starting to come around. Then you have a level 3, very strong with their build, strong with their class, um, and um, they're able to come back or turn the corner in a situation where they're brought down really low, and then they can bring it back and turn around, put damage right back into the person, and the turn the fight around. And that defines a level 3 for sure. Then you have a level 4 that can do that against multiple people. Here's the other thing about a level 4 person before we move on to the next topic, but level 4 people can not only have multiple levels of burst, but they have a great understanding of battle situational awareness as far as who the primary target, the secondary target, and sometimes that's not established off the jump, like right as the fight starts. It's as the fight is going. As the fight's going, they're bursting on this guy, they're taking pokes at this guy, they're maintaining pressure on people and figuring out who the weak links are. Sometimes that's what it requires. It requires maintaining pressure on 3 or 4 different people and taking pokes at them with one of your quick bursts or whatever, while not putting yourself in a position to be out of position. And if any of them are not, they're if they realize this is a level 1 or this is a level 2, their heals are not adequate. Like, I just took a poke on them and they're not bouncing back from that as quick as they should, or not reacting the way they should. And so they're assessing the fight as the fight's unfolding, and then creating a priority kill list. And level 4s can bounce back and forth between multiple targets, maintaining pressure against multiple targets, and then eliminating people as they go. And so that defines a level 4 as well. Not only the ability to do it against multiple people, but to manage the battlefield and the damage output and the damage mitigation due to line of sight or due to situational understanding. Okay, that's a level 4. I'm not saying level 4s are without fault, though. One of the best benefits to a level 4, especially if they're a streamer, is they don't show you the moments that it was a complete fail. Okay, we're gonna do this tower AP farm, and they just get smoked, you know, right at the beginning. They usually don't share those on video, and so they have the benefit of sharing the good footage and kind of immortalizing them in that scenario. Now, I can tell you this, though, that situation usually happens far less than the other alternative. Um, there is this thing too where you could be a clear cut level 3 and you're trying to ascend to a level 4, and you're doing tower AP farms and you're doing outnumbered situations. And if you're just simply line of sighting, kiting, but you're not putting pressure into the other team, you're not trying to take pokes and bite the tail and chop the other, eliminate numbers, you're still a level 3, but you're making steps towards a level 4. You're making steps towards a level 4. But if you're just kiting around and just trying to stay alive, that's not you 1vxing. You know, you you are against multiple opponents, but it's a fight for your life. Picture a screaming woman, trying to stay alive, and then, oh my gosh, running around everything. So, um, and maybe that's not you. Maybe you're, strategically you're clowning them, or you're playing with them, and it's just funny that there's 7 people and they can't kill you. That's cool too. So, but the difference between a level 3 that's doing that and a level 4 is a level 4's taking heads home with them. Okay, they're chopping people down as they go. And so, long ago, not too long ago, I know that he's hopped in and out of the game, but there's a 1vxer named Cypher PK, and I love watching the videos Cypher PK because as your eyes become trained, you actually see the level 1s, and you see the level 2s, you see the level 3s, and I think this is after watching 1vxers regularly, you start to see them as well once you become aware. If you're a level 1, you're probably not, there's no probably to it. You're not going to recognize the levels. You're not going to recognize a level 1 or a level 2 or a level 3 or a level 4. Okay? If you're a level 1 and you know that there's 10 of you, whatever faction you are, and there's one of the other faction, in your mind, you're like, that guy's dead. Okay, but we know better than that. And so level ones won't recognize the level. So level two is becoming a little bit more aware, and he's like, holy crap, there's levels to this. Okay. And then a level three is somebody that's like, I'm the man. I'm the boss. I'm the guy that I'm going to be a tough fight no matter where I'm at. And the level three rarely runs into a level four. But when they do it, and they look for that, they look to run into a level four because they want to be tested. But so anyway, Cypher PK said something long ago, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but it was along these lines, and he might have been one of the first people to kind of whisper this understanding or thought process, and he said 1vxers do not 1vx against good players. Okay? 1vxers do not 1vx against good players. Let that sink in for a second, because that's not a knock on the 1vxer. That's not a knock on the people that are being 1vx'd, because everybody has to go through this maturation process, and they can't really help where they're at in their journey. Okay? And it's not a knock on the 1vxer, like, how dare you 1vx a bunch of level ones. No, that makes for awesome footage. So this is not a knock on anybody or exposed or anything like that. This is just establishing your level of understanding when we're teaching someone that's new to PvP how to train their eyes to assess um, someone else's level. What level are they? Oh, that guy's level 9,000. Like that guy's a monster, and that's definitely not worth an attempt. Or it's worth an attempt because I'm going to keep throwing myself at the lion, and one of these days I'm going to get it. But 1vxers do not 1vx against tough players. Okay, and here's a scenario that happens, and you can make an argument, or if you could absolutely disagree with me on this, you could say, hell no, man, I kill everybody all day, every day, and these are real legit players, yo. That's fine. That's fine if you think that, okay? But I'm sure that we could go through your people's footage. We could go through my footage in BGs, and I see these people, and I can't help it. I'm dropped in a BG with them. But it's just going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. If you were to today take 5 1vx videos, not your own, someone else's, just pull up 5 1vx videos and watch. And with these new trained eyes, look for level ones. How many of those guys do you see just standing over here light attacking or heavy attacking in the general vicinity of this 1vxer? They're not using terrain, they're not near terrain, they're not buffed up, they're not using shields, they're stationary, just meat, ready to get devoured, okay? How many level ones? How many people do you see just standing there holding block? Maybe light attacking, but then holding block. Not moving, not using their surroundings. How many people are dodge rolling out of the blue? Like, no clear cut damage coming into them, but they're dodge rolling around. And, that's because their lack of understanding, like, there is a team fight going on right now, or a 1vx going on right now, and you're not necessarily the target. Damage isn't necessarily coming in at you, but you're dodge rolling around. And so that's something to look for. Train your eyes, watch these videos, and look for this when you guys go watch these 1vx videos. Anyways, that's the 4 levels that I like to establish or lay down the ground rules to beginning level PvPers. And my background in PvP is, I've played since beta. I did take a year off, and since they introduced Battlegrounds, I've probably leveled somewhere between 40 and 50 tunes. I have one of every class, and they're geared for PvP. Okay, but I also have like 3 or 4 slots that are dedicated to leveling characters in a PvP atmosphere. I level all my characters, whether it be in Battlegrounds or in uh, Cyrodiil or in the sewers. Mostly the sewers or districts. That's where I like to level my characters. A lot of EXP down there, and a lot of money to be made down there. But Anyways, through this process, I've learned kind of where the turning point where with classes is. Man, right around level 30, this ability becomes available to this class, and it's a game changer for them. And so I kind of learn where the curve is for different classes and different play styles, and that process is fun to me. Um, Also, another thing too, along the way, along that journey of doing all these leveling to CP and then deleting them, and okay, what are we going to run now? BGs are probably the best place to hone all of these skills from a level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. BGs are the best place to hone this skill and get started early. As a low level player under 50, still be doing BGs because the people you're going against, they're at a disadvantage as well. All their they don't have all their passives. They don't Their bars aren't set up the they are not their final form. Okay, their bars are not set up what they plan to be in game, and that's this usually the same for everybody, you know. But you can build your situational awareness. And low level BGs, the damage output and everyone's health is higher and everything else, and all these facts contribute to the fights take a little longer. And if the fights take a little longer, it gives you the ability to work on your situational awareness. And so, anyways, that's my food for thought. Your level ones, twos, threes, and fours, how you break those down, and that gives them an understanding of what I need to accomplish to ascend to the next level. And that also trains their eyes to spot what other people's levels are as they go. And that's it. Have a great day.